Let's set the record straight. One of the biggest lies you were ever sold was breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That idea didn't come from science. It came from marketing, from processed food giants like Kellogg's, who had one goal: get you hooked on grains first thing in the morning. But here's what they didn't tell you. The real reason John Harvey Kellogg's pushed breakfast wasn't just for profit. It was about control. This man was anti-meat, anti-pleasure, and believed bland, plant-based foods to suppress desires. That's where cornflakes came in, okay? Not to nourish you, but to chemically control your behavior. He believed grain-based meals could make people more obedient, less sexual, and more civilized, more controlled, and it worked. They manufactured a craving, made it normal to eat cereals in the morning. They created addiction, not nutrition. Now we've gotten generations of people eating sugar and seed oils in the first thing in the morning, thinking we're doing something healthy, but metabolically, it's the worst thing that we can eat. So here's the truth. Most people actually thrive when they skip breakfast. Why? Because when you delay your first meal, your body taps into the fat stores for fuel. The insulin stays low, inflammation stays low, your mental clarity kicks in. You enter a biological state called ketosis, and this is how your ancestors function. This is where fat burning, cellular repair, and hormonal balance begins. Cereals couldn't do that. Toast can't do that. And what you've been told is healthy breakfast food, juice, granola. It's dessert in disguise, basically. And the worst time to eat these are in the morning when your cortisol is already high. Adding sugar and carbs to that state destroys your insulin sensitivity for the day and kicks off a roller coaster of cravings, your mood crashes, and fat storage. If you're trying to lose weight, feel sharper, heal your gut, the last thing you want is to eat out of routine just because the clock says it's, AM, breakfast time. You're not broken. You were trained to eat like this. And now we're training differently. The myth of meal frequency, insulin spikes, metabolic function, and snacking. You've been told to eat every 2 to 3 hours to boost your metabolism, which is false. That advice has done more damage to metabolic health than you actually realize. It didn't come from biology. It came from the bodybuilding world where bulking and consistent feeding became a trend. And then food companies hijacked it to sell more protein bars and snacks and shakes and all that garbage. So every time you eat, your pancreas releases insulin, and that's normal. It's a storage hormone. When you consistently eat every 2 to 3 hours, your insulin never gets a break. And when your insulin is always high, your body can't burn fat. You're stuck in storage mode and you're topping off the blood sugar all day. You're not boosting your metabolism. That's shutting off your body's fat burning engine. And here's the cost of frequently eating no one talks about. You're never giving your digestion a rest. Your liver never stops working. Your cells are always cleaning up after the last meal. And when your digestion never pauses, healing can never begin. So when constant snacking triggers inflammation, crashes your energy, and burns out your metabolism, science is now showing the opposite of what we were taught. Reducing meal frequency down to 2 to 1 meal improves insulin sensitivity, increases metabolic flexibility, and allows your body to start using fat as fuel. You do not need to eat consistently. You need to retain your biological function the way it was designed. Grazing all day is a man-made construct and concept. Fat burning is the primal function. So every time you eat, especially carbs and protein, your body starts going into repair, autophagy, detoxification, deep cellular cleanup. They all shut down. When you're always digesting, you're always inflamed. That's why so many people are bloated, tired, foggy, and they can't focus. They're not broken, they're just overfed and under healing. You don't need 5 or 6 meals a day. You need space between your meals, and that's where the magic happens. That's when your body resets, repairs, it starts burning its own fuel. So there's no need to eat every 3 hours. It doesn't boost your metabolism. It breaks your metabolism. It overloads it, your insulin. It keeps you addicted to the next meal. So let's be honest. This was never about health. It was always about getting you to eat more. So they could sell more often. Okay. Food companies created this idea and lies. It influences push it, and now we're reversing it. The more you eat, the more insulin you spike, the more fat you store. The solution isn't more snacks. It's metabolic truth. Structure your meals, eat nutrient-dense animal foods, and give your body the space it needs to burn, heal, and perform. The carbohydrate dependency trap, okay, so it exposes the glucose addiction, the cycle, ancestral fat adaptation, and how carbs are stored. The body was never designed to rely on constant carbohydrate hits for energy, but that's what we've been trained to do. We wake up, eat toast, eat cereal, snack mid-morning, lunch with bread, afternoon crashes, more sugar. We've been sold the lie that carbs equal energy. The truth is, carbs don't energize you. They trap you in a cycle of blood sugar highs and lows, spikes and crashes over and over. Every time your glucose spikes, it crashes later. It has to come down. That crash triggers hunger, brain fog, and more cravings. And the only fix is another meal, another hit to get you through. That is not fueling your body. That's biological addiction. So what happens long term is when you rely on carbs to function, you lose your ability to tap into fat. You lose the metabolic flexibility. Instead of burning your own body fat between meals like nature intended, you constantly depend on the next glucose spike just to stay awake. And this dependency leads to chronic fatigue, hormonal burnout, insulin resistant, visceral fat gain. Meanwhile, your mitochondria, the energy factories in all your cells, they get flooded with oxidative stress. You start to age faster, your brain slows down, you feel inflamed, heavy, and out of control. But your body already has the fuel it needs stored on your body. It's the fat. And when you stop flooding the system with carbs and your body remembers what it was built to do, which is burn fat for fuel, which is ketones, produces when you eat low carb or you fast. And you are clean, you're more powerful, it's brain boosting, and it's fat burning fuel, okay? They don't need crashes. They don't need insulin spikes. They don't leave you shaking, having, the itch for food. And this is exactly how ancestral cultures lived. The Inuit, the Māori and indigenous tribes all thrive on high-fat, low-carb diets with zero dependency on bread, fruit juice, or pasta. No snacks, no carbs. They just have steady performance day after day, season after season. Fasting wasn't the fallback. It was the foundation of their diet. So here's the truth. Relying on carbs for energy is not normal. It's a system from a broken food system, and you don't need carbs to train to feel alive. You need to break that dependency and reclaim your metabolic freedom. So stop chasing energy from the outside and build it from within. When you're fat adapted, you wake up energized, train fast, and you go hours without eating, not because you're suffering, because you're biologically designed and aligned for that. You're not tired, you're not carb dependent, okay? You got to fix that and everything else will change. The sugar lie, we're going to go deep on the myth about the healthy sugars and the concept. So Let's talk about one of the most frustrating lies or controversial topics in the entire wellness industry. The idea that natural sugars are somehow healthy. You know the ones, honey and coconut sugar, fruit juices, maple syrup, dried fruits. They're all being told and sold, they're immune boosting and nourishing, and brown sugar is better than white. Your body does not give a fuck where the sugar come from. Once it hits your bloodstream, it's glucose, it's fructose, it's chaos. Okay, whether it come from a mango smoothie or a Mars bar, your pancreas, your liver, your blood sugar, they respond the same way. Glucose spikes, insulin spikes, fat storage mode is kicked in. That's not how you heal. That is getting hijacked. Okay, and fructose, that is the sugar that is in fruit. It bypasses insulin. It goes straight into the liver and loads up with triglycerides and visceral fat. Okay, so that's the kind of fat that's wrapped around your organs and slowly wrecks your health. Okay, people are sipping on fruit smoothies thinking they're detoxing, but they're doing their body no good. Meanwhile, their liver is overloaded, their hormones are crashing, and their cravings are getting worse. And the wild thing is, fructose doesn't trigger your fullness. You can overeat on fruit very, very easily. Okay, have you ever sat down with a fruit bowl and just you could go another 2 or 3 or 4 fruit bowls? You can absolutely demolish them because your body doesn't know when to stop. And if you're insulin resistant, inflamed, or trying to lose fat, fruit every day is not going to be your friend. Now, don't get me wrong I'm not trying to demonize fruit. It is ancestral, but it was seasonal and occasional in the context. A handful of wild blueberries once in a while, sure, but it was very seasonal and they are a lot different than what they are now. We've got, engineered sugar bombs, okay? Apples are the size of a head, seedless grapes, they all taste sweeter. They were never processed at this volume and the way they are now. They aren't natural anymore. They're all marketed, and it's keeping people sick, still inflamed, bloated, sugar cravings, because the sugar is natural. It's still designed, and it's worse than what they would ever be. So just because it's health, it doesn't mean it's helping you, okay? Natural sugar is a medicine. It's not fuel. It's not essential. It's a distraction. And if you're serious about fixing your gut, healing your metabolism, balancing your hormones, you've got to get real about the lies you've ever been told. Fruit is dessert, honey is glucose, and smoothies are just liquid blood sugar bombs. You don't need sweet hits to survive. You need structure, you need satiety, you need biological truth. And that starts with understanding that sugar, no matter how it's packed, it isn't helping you. It's just gotten better at branding. The fruit fantasy destroys the illusion of the fruit that it was. So let's talk about fruit. I know this is going to trigger a lot of some people, and you need to hear this if you're serious about healing. Fruit today is not the fruit your ancestors ate. We're talking wild, seasonal, bitter, high fiber, low sugar berries that grew in small quantities, maybe for a few weeks, then they disappeared for the rest of the year. We've got bananas that taste like candy, that are seedless grapes. We've got massive apples, mangoes, and smoothies on demand. And people are eating it every day thinking it's medicine, but the modern fruit has been hybridized, genetically engineered, and bred to be bigger, sweeter, and sugar-packed. It is not healthy. It's a dessert in disguise. And here's the real game changer. Fruit is mostly fructose, and fructose doesn't get processed like other sugars. It gets straight to the liver. It bypasses your insulin checkpoint, and it silently gets converted into visceral fat, which is the worst kind. It doesn't make you feel full. It doesn't tell your body to stop eating. So you keep going. And that's how people end up with fatty liver while thinking eating clean, one smoothie, one juice box, a detox, a bowl of yogurt and heaps of berries. You're dumping a massive sugar load into your system, and your metabolism can't keep up. And if you're insulin resistant, you've got gut issues, you've got brain fog, acne, overweight, the weight won't shift. Your healthy fruit bowl is a part of the problem. And this is what pisses me off. The food industry knows this. They took fruit, slapped the label on there, called it immune boosting, natural and wholesome, and they sold it to you as a guilt-free fuel. But metabolically, it's doing the same damage as sugar. Some blood sugar spikes, some liver stresses, and it causes you to crash later with your energy. It's not that's not all the be all and end all. You don't need fruit 3 times a day. You don't need tropical blends of juices in winter. You need to eat real food. And the truth is, fruit is an essential, especially not when you're healing, especially not when your system is already overloaded. So here is the shift. If you're going to eat fruit, make it rare, make it seasonal, make it ancestral, like a treat, not a staple, not a routine hit to satisfy that sweet tooth. You're trying to get rid of that. So here is where we reset your biology. To burn fat and not chase sugar highs. Once your body adapts to fat for fuel, you won't even crave it anymore. You'll be free. The fruit fantasy will be over, and you'll live longer, and you will thank me later for that. The bodybuilding lie, which has been a trend. This is going to be controversial topic and rattle some cages, but it has to be said. Just because someone's lean and muscular doesn't mean they're healthy. In fact, behind being shredded and pumped up, often the ones with broken systems, and you will never see it. Okay, but you see the outside. It's not the full picture. You don't see their hormones. You don't see the gut issues, the insomnia, low test, low hormones, the mental burnout. It's not health. It's all aesthetics, and it comes at a cost. And most of the time, the cost is everything. So these guys are force feeding during their bulk phases, 4 to 5, 6,000 calories a day of oats, rice, shakes, whey protein, chicken, garbage crap. They're spiking their insulin all day. Their liver under consistent stress, and their digestion is wrecked. Then they switch to cutting. It slashes calories, dehydrated, starves the system. Then you've got stimulants, fat burners, hormones, T3, T2, injections, you name it. Not all of them, but some. And then they yo-yo between binge and restriction, and it destroys their endocrine system. Their cortisol is through the roof, testosterone tanks, and their nervous system, it never catches a break. And you'll see the highlight reel, their spray tans, their shows, the six packs, the jacks, lifting big weights, but you don't see the bloating, the hormone crashes, the erectile dysfunction, the hormone issues, the women losing their periods, adrenal fatigue, their wrecked sleep. These guys who look like Spartans, but they're really running on empty, because it's all built on manipulation, not health. Dehydration, synthetic hormones, carb loading, nothing about that is sustainable, and nothing about it is ancestral. They look like lions, but biologically, they're literally bleeding out, okay? They're the visceral fat, the dangerous kind, okay, can still exist under a six-pack. Just because you're lean on the outside doesn't mean you're clean, okay, on the inside. Most bodybuilders carry massive internal stress that lead to faster aging, hormonal collapse, and burnout. I've seen 25-year-old bodybuilders in the game look like they're 30 and 40. They've depleted from collagen, There's no libido, constant brain fog, and yeah, many of them end up on TRT just to feel half normal again, or to reboot, trying to get back to where they wanted to be. That isn't healthy. And here is what I need you to understand, okay? Health isn't about being shredded at all costs, okay? Real health is about balanced hormones, deep sleep, mental clarity, a strong gut, a nervous system that isn't constantly under fire. Longevity is you're not starving, you're not stimulating, not living off pre-workouts, whey proteins. If you're trying to chase health, stop copying the people who are chasing dysfunction, okay? Building strength, building resilience, but build it from the inside out. So the cardio icon exposes how chronic running will break down your body. So if we talk about cardio, you've been told for years that running is the, cardio health, the more miles, the more results. But if I told you chronic cardio is actually breaking you down, the long distance running is not building health, it's building strength. Your body sees constant running as a survival threat, not a fitness routine, okay? Cortisol skyrockets, your nervous system goes into overdrive, and instead of building strength, your body goes catabolic. It starts eating away your muscle. And let's not ignore what happens under the hood in the engine bay, okay? You're pounding pavement for an hour, spreading it out, thinking you're burning fat, but you're triggering inflammation. Your micro trauma builds up. The joints start to wear. The sleep will suffer. Your hormones collapse. Your test will drop. Women's periods can go missing. That isn't about performance. That's body going into panic mode. And you might feel good after a run, but that is not healing your body, okay? It's your body pumped up with stress and chemicals to calm it back down. If we look at nature, the animals that live the longest were the ones that move the slowest. Turtles, elephants, they live long because their heart rate stays low. The animals that die the fastest, they're the ones that are always moving, always panicking, always, burning energy. Your heart isn't a muscle you want to overstimulate daily. So long-term cardio ages you faster. Oxidative stress goes up. Arterial wear increases, so your collagen breaks down. That's not healthy. That's chronic wear and tear. So if you're running yourself into the ground every day trying to burn fat, you're playing the wrong game. Is what works better. So low intense, steady state movement, walking, nose breathing especially, okay? Your mouth is for food, nose is for breathing. Being grounded, okay? This is your parasympathetic state, healing, not surviving. When you combine that with resistance training, sunlight, and real food, your metabolism comes alive. There's no more cortisol chaos. There's no more running from a problem. You're building calm strength, not panic performance. So the next time you lace up your shoes and go hammer another 10K run on concrete, ask yourself, is this healing my body, or am I chasing the high that's just making my body break down? Because real health doesn't feel like a depletion. It feels like stability. The supplement scam. Let's talk about supplements, because this is one of the hardest things, okay? We've been told they're safe, they're necessary, and they're even essential. For most of what's on the shelf is completely garbage. It's cheap, it's synthetic, and it's made in a lab using petroleum, byproducts, coal tar, fillers, ingredients your body can't even recognize. The multivitamins you're taking are probably just expensive pee, okay? And in some cases, it's not just useless, it can be toxic. Most common vitamins like folic acid, vitamin B12 are fake forms. Your body either can't absorb them, or worse, they block the absorption of the real thing. They overload your liver, they stress your kidney, and they leave you more depleted over time. You're not solving a deficiency, you're literally patching it with a chemical. And let's not forget about the whole fish oil, the omega-3s. Most fish oil supplements are rancid. By the time they hit the bottle, they oxidize fats, cellular damage, they increase cancer risk, especially prostate and colon. They're marketed as anti-inflammatory and they're literally fueling inflammation. And here's what pisses me off most. Coaches that are pushing 50 to 20 supplements a day, not because it's the best way to heal, but because they get a kick from affiliate codes or other brands. Your clients spending hundreds a month on pills and powders while still eating seed oils and cereals and junk food. Supplements were never supposed to replace food. Real nutrition is raw, ancestral, and bioavailable. You want omega-3s? Eat wild salmon and grass-fed beef. You want minerals? Eat liver, beef organs, oysters, raw dairy. Nature already built that pharmacy in the natural form. We've been brainwashed to thinking that pills are easier, more convenient, and more advanced. Okay? They're just profitable. Unless it's a legitimate whole food-based, biological compatible supplement, it's not worth it. You're just stacking stress on top of your organs that need to detox. If you're peeing them out, that is proof that they don't work. The body is trying to flush it out before it causes more damage. You don't need a cabinet full of synthetic pills, okay? You need raw food, raw fuel, nutrient density your body can actually use and absorb. So no, supplements aren't evil, but for what you're being sold, it's not healing you. It's hustling you, okay? Don't always fall for it. Now, the plant defense mechanism reveals why plants are not passive. They're anti-nutrients. They use defense chemicals and how they wreck your gut. So let's flip another health truth, okay? Everyone's been told to eat more plants, plants heal, plants are medicine, but let's actually use logic for a second. If you were stranded in the wild, would you walk up to a random plant and eat it? Fuck no. You'd hesitate, you'd question it, you would think about it. Is this going to kill me? Is this poison me? And you would dead be right, because plants do not want to be eaten. They can't run. They can't fight. So what can they do to defend themselves? They have chemicals within themselves to be released, which are toxins. Oxalates, lectins, phthalates, saponins, they aren't micronutrients. They are biological warfare on us. So oxalates can cause kidney stones, joint pain, and inflammation. Lectins bind to your gut lining and damage the internal walls. Phthalates or phytates block mineral absorption, so fattic acid. So they block the absorption of iron, calcium, magnesium, and the list goes on, okay? And we're out here blending spinach into smoothies like it's a fucking superfood. It's not nourishment. It's a digestive assault on your gut. And here's what most people don't know about. Most of the vegetable in your fridge did not exist 500 years ago. Broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, they're all man-made hybrids. Bred in the lab, not grown in the wild. No, you'll never find it in the nature. They've been genetically modified for shelf life, not for digestibility. And when you've already been dealing with gut issues, hormonal imbalances, autoimmune flare-ups, these compounds make it worse. You're not absorbing these nutrients. You're fighting your own food. And here is the ancestral truth. From 95% of human history, plants were survival food for fallback when we couldn't catch anything. The last strand. The core human diet was meat, fat, organs, and animal foods. Dense, bioavailable nutrient that doesn't fight you back unless you're hunting it. Meanwhile, plants are in full defense chemical designed to make you stop eating them. That's why they're poisonous and toxic. If you ignore the signs, the gassiness, the bloating, the brain fog, the skin breakout, they're not random. That's your biofeedback, and your body is begging you to listen to it. So let me be clear about it. Just because it's a plant doesn't mean it's safe. Plants don't care about a six-pack. They're trying to survive, and your gut is getting shredded in the crossfire, literally in the internals, is getting shredded, okay? So stop thinking about having kale and fruit juices. Heal your gut, reset your digestion, and stop letting salads sabotage your body. One of the most deeply rooted nutrient myths out there, that you need fiber to go to the bathroom, that fiber is essential for gut health. It is not. If you are someone who is bloated, constipated, inflamed, or dealing with IBS or gut pain, you already know it because you've tried the whole fiber thing and it made you worse, and you probably removed fiber. Fiber acts like sandpaper inside an already irritated gut. If your internal lining is damaged, fiber doesn't soothe it. It scratches it, it scrapes it, ferments. It feeds the wrong bacteria. It triggers gas, bloating, and pressure, and it makes your gut work harder when it really doesn't need it and it needs to rest. And this is why people are dealing with colitis, Crohn's, and severe IBS. Doctors often recommend a low fiber or a fiber-free diet because the body can't tolerate it. Now, let's flip the switch. What actually helps get things moved along? Fat. Fat lubricates your digestive tract. It softens the stools. It stimulates bile, and it supports your gut motility without causing trauma. Think of it like oil in an engine. It keeps things flowing without damaging the parts. And here's something that no one really talks about. You're not supposed to go 3 times a day. Not a sign of health. It's a sign that your body is constantly trying to expel something it can't use. So what is fiber? It's literally the part of the food your body can't digest. That's why it makes you go. Not because it's helping you, because your body is rejecting it. When you eat meat and fat, your body is actually recognizing that nothing is left to purge or go to waste. The digestion is complete, clean, and efficient. Now, here is the real kicker. When people drop fiber, you know what else disappears? The gas and the bloating. Because the bloating, the farting, the pressure, it's gone because it ferments. The fermenting will stop once you remove it. No plant matter sitting in your gut rotting, the chemical welfare from the kale, the granola bars, the seeds, you name it, okay? Just clean burning fuel and natural elimination. So, fiber isn't essential. It has just been marketed that way, okay? When your gut wants to get nourished, it needs collagen, fat, gelatin, bone broth. That's how you rebuild the lining, okay? That's how we reduce inflammation, and that is how you actually fix digestion, by removing the irritants and the returning to the food how your biological body understands. And it's not about more bulk, as in the fiber. It's about more bioavailability. This one goes deep. We've been told cooking makes food healthier, that it unlocks nutrients, that it makes food easier to digest. But let's stop and actually think for a second. What does heat do? It breaks things down. It destroys things. And when you apply that to food, especially animal foods, they lose some of the critical nutrients that were put in there for a reason. I'm talking about enzymes, delicate B12, folate, vitamin C, okay? It goes. High heat cooking doesn't enhance your steak. It kills what is made biologically powerful. Okay, you destroy some of the proteins, you oxidize the fats, and create toxins, byproducts like AGEs, translocation end products. So these things damage your arteries, destroy collagen, inflame your cells, and accelerate aging. And without overcooking burgers, thinking you're helping your digestion, it is stressing your system. So this is why a lot of people switch to carnivore, animal-based, but don't get real results as they expected. Because everything they're doing with cooking, they're cooking it to the death. Okay, burnt patties, overseared steaks, scrambled eggs on high. You're eating the right food, but you're preparing it the wrong way. And your body knows that. So you have heavy digestion, sluggishness, you're not getting the energy boost. That's because the meat is the problem. That's not because the meat is the problem. It's because the way you're cooking it. And here's what happens when you go the other way. Raw or slightly cooked animal foods, the digestion gets easier. The body recognizes them instantly. Get the nutrients in the natural usable form. So raw liver, slightly seared steak, soft eggs, gently steamed seafood. They're all forms to heal you. You get energized. They build. They nourish your gut lining instead of stressing you out. So no, cooking doesn't always make your food better. In fact, too much cooking can turn your food into a stressor. It doesn't digest faster. It doesn't heal better. It's just more convenient and more dead. Okay, understand that. If your food feels heavy and makes you tired or leaves you bloated, it's probably overcooked. So keep it simple, keep it gentle, and let your body guide you, because food is raw and alive. So are you. Vegetable illusion. So let's strip the mask off this one. Everyone says, you eat your vegetables, they're healthy, they're essential. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually felt amazing after eating a bowl of veggies and broccoli? You felt bloated, gassy, foggy. This isn't freedom. It's because most vegetables, they're not natural. They were invented. Broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, all of them come from a single plant. They were bred in labs and fields to be bigger, sweeter, and last longer on the shelves, not to nourish you, not to support your body. It's to make money. And the process, they became harder to digest, higher defense chemicals, and lower in real nutrients. So now adding monocropping, okay, and soil depletion into the mix. You've got vegetables that are grown in dead dirt, sprayed with toxins, and missing minerals in your body that you actually need. And even when they're organic, it doesn't mean pesticide free. Organic still allows chemical exposure up to a legal limit, and a chemical and a natural, so to speak, compound instead. And it doesn't remove the plant's own defense mechanism. So you're still eating oxalates, carcinogens, lectins, phthalates, folic acid, all of which block nutrient absorption. So while you're drowning your green smoothie thinking it's a superfood, it's inflaming your gut, your minerals are getting hijacked, and your hormones are screaming for support. There is no essential nutrient found in vegetables that you can't get from a bioavailable animal. So iron, B12, retinol, zinc, vitamin K12, they're all superior in meat, organs, and seafood and raw dairy. And if you look at the tribes who made the lifestyle after the Inuit, the Masani or Masi, and the Himba, these people thrived for generations on meat, blood, and fat. No kale, no quinoa, no breads, no Brussels sprouts. Okay, just animal foods, ancestral foods. And their teeth were stronger. They had zero cavities. They were not obese, no chronic illness, unmatched strength, energy, always fertile, and never, ever, ever touch vegetables. So the bottom line is vegetables are not required for health. They were a fallback food in times of need when there was nothing left. And in today's world, they're lab grown, gut damaging, and they're overhyped. You don't need a rainbow on your fucking plate. You need food your body actually recognizes. That is how you build real health, not from fucking garbage, from a carnivore clarity. Antioxidants distract, expose, and give you a better understanding of the plant-based antioxidants. So because for years we've been told, you need to fight inflammation by drinking smoothies, eating acai bowls, goji berries, and loading up on powders. Most of these plant antioxidants, your body can't even use them. Okay, so polyphenols, flavonoids, they sound good, they sound sexy, but they're locked in fiber. they're bound to the compound that your gut struggles to break down. And half of the time, it just acts as a toxin. And what do I mean by that? They trigger a tiny stress response in the body, and that response, not to the plant itself, is what produces the benefit. So the healing isn't coming from the superfood, it's coming from what your body tried to defend itself against. And while you're blending spinaches and dumping powders in your water, you're ignoring the real antioxidants powerhouse, which is your own cell, your own mitochondria, the earth, the red meat, the organs, the sunlight, and deep sleep. That's what actual neutralizes oxidative stress. That's what builds cellular resilience. None from a $14 fucking juice. You know, it's all marketing. Your body produces its own master antioxidants, and it's called glutathione, okay? And guess what supports glutathione production? Red meat, raw dairy, liver, cholesterol, animal fat, sunlight, and grounding. You do not need plant powders. You need biological inputs. You need the raw material to build defense from the inside out. Now let's talk about the earth. One of the most overlooked antioxidants tool on the planet is grounding. Walking barefoot in the grass, the damp, the sand, the ocean, connecting your skin to the soil, that transfers free electrons in your body, which neutralizes inflammation and regulates your nervous system and restores your energy at a cellular level. Better than any green or ever any supplement could. Nobody profits, so they don't tell you and teach you about this. So here's the real takeaway. The best antioxidants doesn't come from kale or fruit smoothie or berry. They come from real food, deep sleep, sun exposure, clean mitochondria, and grounding with the earth. You're not deficient in blueberries, okay? You're deficient in the real truth. So stop skipping on overpriced plant juice, hoping to detoxify, okay? A detox happens when you're biologically supported. Saturated fat, the truth bomb. This one's pretty personal because this lie didn't just make people overweight, it made them sick, inflamed, weak, depressed, and on medication for life. And I'm talking about the war on saturated fat. They lied. The lie that red meat clogs your arteries, the butter causes heart attacks, the cholesterol is your enemy. And the worst part is what is all based on manipulation and science. But back in the 1950s, a guy named Ancel Keys ran the now infamous 7-country study. He claimed to prove that the more saturated fat a population ate, the higher their rate of heart disease was. But here's what they didn't tell you is he had data from 22 countries. He only published the 7 that supported his agenda, the ones that ate high fat, but how low of the heart rate. So he ignored giving that information. And while Ancel Keys was doing that, the sugar industry was paying off researchers to shift the blame away from sugar and pin it on fat. So millions were pumped into the media, the universities, and the food policies. And just like that, the red meat became the villain. While low-fat cereals, margarines, and the processed garbage took over the breakfast plate, the results, more obesity, more diabetes, more heart disease ever than before to this day. But what current research actually shows that saturated fat from animal sources, beef, butter, tallow, and raw dairy, raises your HDL, the good cholesterol, and lowers your triglycerides and keeps your blood sugar stable. That's the exact opposite of what they told you. And real fat supports brain function, hormone production, cellular repair, and metabolic health. Your body doesn't just tolerate fat, it fucking thrives on it. And let's clear up the cholesterol myth once and for all. Cholesterol isn't the villain. It is the firefighter. It shows up at the scene of damage because sugar and seed oils are inflammatory. But instead of asking what caused the fire, we blame the firefighter. That's what statin drugs do. They block your body's natural healing response while doing nothing to fix the root cause. If you've been scared to eat red meat, you're still avoiding butter because of something your doctor said in the 90s, understand this. There is a lie in profitable research and marketing. The truth will rebuild you because the strongest, the longest living, most fertile humans on the planet also ate meat, fat, and organs. And they didn't die from cholesterol, they fucking thrived on it. The modern myth, this one might sting a bit because if you're serious about change, you need to hear this. Everything in moderation is one of the most dangerous lies ever sold to nutrition. It sounds logical, it sounds safe, it even sounds wise. But let's be real, it's not wisdom, it's marketing. It was designed to keep you addicted while convincing you that you're being responsible. You can call it what it is, a way of justifying keeping poison in your life. Because when you moderate processed foods, seed oils, sugars, and alcohol, you're not healing. You're negotiating with the very thing that is breaking your body down. You wouldn't tell a smoker, just have one cigarette. You wouldn't tell an alcoholic just to have one more vodka. But somehow we do that with food. We're convinced ourselves that a little bit of destruction is okay. It's fine. It's familiar. It's what keeps people stuck. And what moderation really does is keeps the craving alive. It prevents a full detox. It confuses your hunger signals. It delays fat loss and it triggers binge cycles. And every time you tell yourself just one more bite, it won't hurt, you're rewiring your brain to keep chasing that dopamine. You don't break free. You just slow the fall. And I know what you're going to say, but isn't a balanced diet healthy? Listen, real balance is not just about juggling junk and calling it okay. Real balance is clarity, boundaries, biofeedback. It's about choosing what your nervous system and cutting what doesn't actually work. That's not restriction. That's actual freedom. Okay, moderation is how they keep selling you cookies, protein labels. It's how the fitness industry sells cheat days. It's how cereal companies slap a healthy heart stick on the fucking cornflakes. It's not about health. It's about keeping you compliant. Because if you still eat the garbage, even a little, they still win. You stay stuck. You stay bloated. You stay confused. So here's the truth about most coaches won't tell you. If you want radical change, you need radical boundaries. Healing isn't about managing dysfunction. It's about removing the cause. You don't need moderation. You need clarity. And when you cut the noise, when you eliminate the triggers, when you stop lying to yourself in the name of balance, it's when real change happens. That's when your body stops surviving and it starts thriving. The calorie lie. Time to take down the lie that has been pushed harder than ever in the weight loss world. It's just about calories in, calories out. That is not facts, okay? Your metabolism is not a calculator. It's a complex, adaptive system, and what you eat matters more than how much. So here's what they don't tell you. 100 calories of steak and 100 calories of soda or blueberries, it hits differently. One fuels your hormones and one repairs, and the other spikes your insulin, causes crashes, and makes you crave more. So if all you're doing is counting a number but ignoring the inputs, you're playing a very bad game. It's your hormones that control fat storage, not a spreadsheet. Insulin tells your body to store fat. Leptin tells you when you're full. Cortisol decides whether you build or break down. And all of those are influenced by the food quality. Processed carbs jack up your insulin. Inflammation blocks leptin. Stress keeps cortisol sky high. And suddenly you're gaining weight even on low calories because your hormones are in chaos. And that is not math. So here's what I see every single day. People are eating 1,400 calories and still bloated, exhausted, and stuck. Then they switch to a high-fat, carnivore-based meal, 2,200 calories, and the fat starts to melt off. The energy skyrockets, cravings gone, same body, different outputs. Because when your body is fueled right, it starts to function the way it was designed to. That's the actual difference between restriction and realignment. And this is the biggest trap of calorie count. It makes you obsessed over the wrong metrics. It's not about how little you eat, it's about how well you're feeding your body. Nutrient dense meals do more with less. So they keep you fuller for longer, better muscle support, better hormone balance, and more fat burning. And that's why the quality of food always trumps the quantity. Eat the right inputs and the outputs take care of themselves. So if someone is telling you it's all about calories in, calorie out, they're missing 90% of the picture. Calories matter, but in context matters more. Because it's not about tracking food to the death, it's about understanding what the hell it does once it's inside you. That is how you create real transformation, not by shrinking your portions, but by upgrading the inputs. Let's talk about grains. Wheat, oats, corn, even the ones labeled whole foods or whole grains. You've been told they're essential for fiber, heart health, and energy. But they're actually one of the most inflammatory, gut-damaging food groups on the modern diet. Grains were made for mass production, not for human digestion. They're loaded with defense chemicals, gluten, lectins, phthalates. These wreck your gut lining. They block mineral absorption. They trigger immune response. Worst of all, even the healthy ones, like whole wheat, they spike your blood sugar faster than normal sugar. Okay, that is complete sabotage. We haven't evolved to digest grains. They've been in our diet for only about 10,000 years. That is a blink in the evolutionary timeline. Okay, and the evidence is everywhere. Shorter bones, worse teeth, and weaker bodies. They showed up after grain agriculture took over. Your body never asked for bread. It was sold to you for profit, not for evolution. So grains are marketed as health foods, but they are a modern mismatch. It hijacks your blood sugar, trashes your gut, taking your energy. If you want to reclaim your digestion, your mood, and your metabolism, you got to let go of the grains. Your real food doesn't come from a food pyramid. It comes from the land, and your body knows the difference. This is a huge one. A high protein damages your kidney. This one right here has been used to scare people off with red meat for decades. Don't eat too much protein. It will ruin your kidneys. But let me ask you, where's the actual evidence? Because this myth, it's not science. It's misinterpreted, it's recycled fear, and lazy medicine. And here's the truth. Protein does not damage healthy kidneys. The idea comes from outdated studies on people who already had advanced kidney disease. Of course, if your kidneys are already failing, you'll have to prioritize your protein. But for healthy people, protein isn't the problem. It's the solution. Especially if you're trying to build lean muscle, burn fat, heal your gut, balance blood sugar, or age with strength and clarity. In fact, what destroys your kidney isn't protein, it's chronically high blood pressure. Diabetes is the number one cause of kidney damage. And what causes diabetes is processed carbs, sugary meals, and constantly snacking. So let's get this straight. The same people eating cereal, pasta, rice, and juices all day are afraid of ribeye steaks. That is completely fucking backward. So your body was built to thrive on amino acids from animal proteins. Kidneys aren't fragile. They're designed to filter, and real protein, eggs, red meat, fish is one of the cleanest fuels your body can use. What clogs the system is garbage. So what heals the system is nutrients. The most bioavailable nutrients in the world comes from animals, not plants, not powders, not shakes, nothing processed. So if you've been holding back on protein because of some outdated kidney myth, let it go, eat steak, eat eggs, build real strength, because weakness is far from dangerous than meat ever will be. And we don't do weak. You can't build muscle without carbs. This one actually kills me. You can't build muscle without carbs, which is false, it's lazy, it's outdated. The myth comes from bodybuilders stuck in the 90s slamming the rice and chicken, the insulin spikes pre-workout, thinking the only way to grow. But guess what? The human body knows how to adapt. And you can build muscle without turning into a walking fucking glucose pump, okay? So the What matters most to the muscles is the protein intake, progressive overload, hormone balance, recovery, and sleep. Carbs are an option, they're not essential. You want to know what actually is essential, which is the amino acids, the electrolytes, and your testosterone. If you're eating animal-based eggs, steak, salt, water, organs, you're giving your body everything it needs to grow dense, lean, powerful muscle without the carb, without the bloating, without the insulin spikes and chaos. You don't need to get this twisted, okay? I'm not saying carbs have zero place. I'm saying they don't require you to build muscle. Most people are inflamed, insulin resistant, and overstressed. Carbs hurt more than help you in that state, okay? But once your gut is healed, your hormones are firing, and you're metabolically stable, you can choose whether to use them strategically or not for performance. And if you still don't believe it, look at the guys doing carnivore. Look at elite athletes doing zero carbs, okay? Look at your own body when you fuel it right with fats. You'll gain muscle, you'll drop fat, and you'll recover faster than ever because it's not inflamed, you're not bloated, you're not feeding dysfunction. You're building from a clean slate, and that's what real muscle is. The truth about vitamin C, one of the first things people say, oh, when you go carnivore, where do you get vitamin C from? Like we're about to fall over a pirate disease. It's not about how much vitamin C you get. It's about how much you absorb, how much you need, and how much damage your diet is creating in the first place. On a standard modern diet loaded with sugar, seed oils, grains, your body's constantly in and creating oxidative stress. So this means your vitamin C requirements go up. Why? Because you're inflamed. You're constantly in repair mode, but once you remove those imports and eat a clean animal-based diet full of nutrients and dense foods, do you need as much vitamin C? Because you're not constantly putting out fires anymore. Now, second, vitamin C is in meat, especially raw cuts, organ meats like kidneys, liver, and even muscle meat in moderate amount. It's not high quantities, but it's extremely bioavailable. That means your body absorbs and uses it effectively, unlike the synthetic stuff in your multivitamins. So if you're getting less vitamin C, you're actually getting more usable vitamin C. And glucose and vitamin C compete for absorption. So when you're constantly eating carbs and sugar, your vitamin C uptake tanks. So on carnivore, there's no sugar, no grains, and no competition. So that means you only need a little bit, and the little bit that you get, it goes a lot further. So if you're worried about getting scurvy or you're not getting your vitamin C, scurvy happens in people who are starving or eating junk, not people eating relatively, raised beef liver, eggs, bone marrow. Your body is smarter, and when you fuel it ancestral, it gives you what you need, not what you fear, in the markets. Plant-based protein is just good as animal protein. This is one that gets pushed hard by vegan influencers and food companies trying to sell you pea protein shakes or soy burgers. Plant protein is just as good as animal protein. This is very wrong. Let me say this clearly. All protein is not created equal, and your body knows the difference. Protein isn't just protein. It's made up of amino acids, some of which your body can't make. These are called essential amino acids, and you have to get them from food. And guess what? Animal protein hits all the targets. It has a complete amino acid profile, high bioavailability. There's no anti-nutrient blocking absorption in there. So meanwhile, plants have an incomplete and poorly absorbed amino acid profile. So if you look at beans, they're missing key amino acids. Pea protein, highly processed, low leucine. Soy, estrogenic and inflammatory. Even if you combine a full plant source, you still end up with less quality, more digestive stress, and a massive hit of carbs and oxalates. which that's not effective, okay? That's compromise. Your body doesn't care what fucking trend is on TikTok. It cares about what it can use. Animal protein, steak, eggs, organs, seafood gives your body the exact amino acid profile it needs to build lean muscle, repair the gut, stabilize hormones, and fuel the immune system. So if you're chasing performance and healing or body composition goals, and you're still learning plant protein powders because they seem healthier, you're handicapping your progress. Real protein comes from the animal kingdom. That's how we've evolved. That's what we've built strength on. And if you want to recover and grow and reset, you need to feed your biological body what it actually is made from. Is fasting bad? This one gets a lot of women scared. Fasting is dangerous for female hormones. You'll hear all over the internet, don't skip meals, it messes up your cycle, it crashes your thyroid, it's not safe for women. But here's the thing, it's not fasting that's the problem, it's how people abuse fasting and the context they're fasting in. So if you're overtraining, under eating and sleeping, running on caffeine and stress, then yeah, fasting might add fuel to that fire. But that's not a fasting problem. That's a metabolic dysfunction problem. And most women who struggle with fasting aren't eating enough real food to begin with. Here's what happens when you fast correctly. Your blood sugar stabilizes, inflammation drops, digestion improves, hunger hormones calibrate. And when it's paired with animal-based nutrition, you support detox excess estrogen and actually balances your cycle out. Because your body's not overwhelmed anymore, it's finally getting a break it needs. You want to know what it really wrecks women's hormone is snacking all day, the sterols, the fake health foods, high cortisol from poor sleep and sugar crashes, the calorie restriction with low fat. When fasting is done right, it is one of the most powerful hormone resets a woman can use. So if you're a woman trying to reclaim your energy, fix your skin and lose the inflammation, and you've been scared to fast, don't be, because fasting doesn't hurt your hormones. It reveals the dangers that already were there. And when you pair it with real food and reset, that's where the healing starts. The truth about ketosis. You hear the word keto, and what's probably the first thing that comes to mind? Obsessive carb counting, or almond flour brownies and cheese and just funny, weird keto snack. Okay, that's not ketosis. It's a hijacked trend. Okay, let's bring it back to what it really is. It's a natural, ancestral metabolic state, and when you use it right, it's a fucking weapon. Okay, ketosis is not a gimmick. It is not a brand. It is a state your body naturally enters when you stop running on sugar. When glucose drops and your insulin quiets down, your liver kicks in. It starts converting fat into ketones. These ketones become your new fuel source. It's cleaner, more stable, and your brain becomes sharper. You feel focused, calm, like your mind and your body are clearer for the first time in years. So the problem, most people try to do keto using processed crap, almond flour, seed oils, fake desserts, and they wonder why they feel like shit. That's not ketosis. That's not keto. The inflammation with the low carb label, okay, that's what that is. Real ketosis comes from animal fats, clean fasting windows, mineral balance, not marketing, not macros, no keto bread and all this crap. Ketosis isn't dangerous. You've actually been in and out of ketosis your whole life every time you sleep. And it's how we survive as a species. But we lost that ability because we started eating 6 meals a day, chasing carbs and fearing fat. So if you're still scared of ketosis or think it's just for weight loss, understand this. Ketosis is your body's original reset switch. It's not about labels. It's about liberation, okay? From cravings, from brain fog, from sugar addiction. Once your body taps into the fat and starts making ketones, you don't just survive, you become a dangerous weapon. The carb dependency trap. So let's be real. Most people walking around today, they're not just eating carbs, they're dependent on them. Every few hours they eat, they crash, they get tired, irritable, anxious. And then what do? They grab a quick fix, bread, muesli bars, juices, cereals, not because they're hungry, because their body forgets to run. They forget to run without sugar. So this is the carb dependency trap. It's not just physically, it's hormonal, it's emotional, it's neurologic. Every time you eat refined carbs and insulin spikes, then it crashes, then the cortisol raises, then cravings hit, and it's a loop. You're chasing energy, but you're digging a deeper hole. And no matter how clean the carbs are, if you need them to feel okay, you're not fueled, you are hooked. And this is where most people live, in the constant hunger, the mood swings, the brain fog, craving after every meal. That's not normal. That's a carb dependency. And it's not about willpower. It's about your body and your system. Because when your cells can't access the fat for fuel, they scream for sugar. So you feed the fire again and again and again. So the solution is you've got to break the loop. And it starts with fat adaptation. That means animal fat, electrolytes, strategic fasting, zero processed inputs. You retrain your metabolism to burn clean and not chase glucose. Once your body flips into fat burning, the cravings stop, the brain stop, it turns on. Your hunger becomes real, not reactive. And for the first time you feel stable, and like a lion in the wild, it's calm, it's focused, and it's fucking dangerous. That's metabolic freedom. It starts when you step out of that trap. Restoring your ancestral wisdom. Everything you've been taught about health, the food pyramid, the breakfast cereals, the 6 meals a day, it didn't come from biology. It come from corporations. You've been marketed into sickness, labeled normal, while inflamed, bloated, addicted, tired, anxious, broken. You were born into a system designed to keep you docile every few hours. Stay carb dependent, fear fat, chase calories, be confused. Then they sell you the solution to the problem that they created. Probiotics, multivitamins, low-fat snacks, mental health pills. And here's the truth. They don't need any of it. You need to remember who the fuck you are, and you are not broken. You are misfired. Your body knows what to do. You just need to eat real food, get in real rhythm, and get a real reset. There's no apps, there's no macros, there's no Instagram health hacks for that. Just meat, salt, water, sun, breathe, and discipline. This is about reclaiming your biological truth, okay? Fasting isn't a trend, steak isn't dangerous, and carbs aren't essential. It's all programming, but if you're got the willpower to delete that programming and to rebuild from the ground up, to become fat adapted, focused, grounded, and goddamn unstoppable, you don't need a diet, you just need rescuing, and it starts with one decision: to stop outsourcing your health and take it all back. Your body, your mind, your energy, your fire. This isn't a lifestyle. It's a return to nature. And once you reclaim that, no one can sell you the lies again.